Thank you so much for taking the time to watch me create some looks. Maybe in the future I can create some like hair tutorials on styling or something that has to do with my job, because I don't just do makeup. And I hope you guys are taking the opportunity to spend as much time as you can with your family and your loved ones, taking advantage of the social distancing. I know a lot of us aren't able to go to work, like myself, and I'm just taking the time to just kind of give me some me time and some family time. And I just hope you guys are, trying to make the best of it, just how all of us are. Much love. Huge shout out to everybody that watched my last video. And I created this fun look when I first started making today's video. I didn't know how it would end up looking, and so this is what I came up with. If you want to see how I created this look, just keep on watching. Alright guys, let's get started. So for this makeup look, I've already prepped my skin with moisturizer, and my moisturizer of choice is the Aveeno Ultra Calming, and I've used this moisturizer for a long time. So I just put that in my skin before I started the video, and then just kind of let that set and then proceed with the rest of my face. So I'm gonna continue off by doing my brows next, and for that I'm using a brow pencil, and all the products that I'm using I will list them in the description. That way you know exactly what products I'm using in case you're curious. And so I just kind of start penciling in my brows pretty light. I don't go too crazy with them. And then I go in and deepen them with a little bit of a powder. This is just a matte eyeshadow. And just kind of go through, starting at the base, kind of slowly building color. And then I go through and brush them out a little bit in parts where I feel like I don't want them too dark. So especially in the front of the eyebrow. And then I go through and I further define the brow, just make it look nice and neat, clean up any mess that I would have made with a shadow or a pencil. And this is good if you're not super, if you don't have a steady hand, the concealer is a good way to make your brows look nice and neat. And so I just kind of work that in. Some people do the top of the brow as well, but I just like to just do the bottom. And it also creates an instant lift for your under eye, so you instantly look more awake. And after that, I'm going to go in with an eyeshadow primer. And this one here is nice and thick and it's pretty light. And I just kind of put that all over my under eye, preparing it for shadow. And I'm going to go in with my first color, and I'm just going to kind of buff that in the crease. So the way I like to do my shadow application, I start off in the crease with the lightest color and then just work my way down towards the lash line, and then gradually getting darker as I get to the lash line. I hope that makes sense. And then I take a different brush and I dip into a little bit of a darker color, and then I go and start defining my crease. And I do like a V motion. So I start towards the lash line, and then I just kind of slowly start to build up that color there, and then just blend out. So you see how I did that little V motion there? That's what you want. And you're just gonna kind of keep the movement really nice and quick and just kind of buffing it. And then after that, I just take a little bit of a fluffier brush, not as fluffy as the first one, but just a little bit of a step down, but still fluffy. And then I just blend out those colors that I used into the crease there. And at that point, there's no product in the brush, and it's just to diffuse the colors that were there. And then I just repeat the process on the other side like you see me doing here. And then I go back and forth, I toddle back and forth just until I see that the intensity is even on both sides. And then I take the first brush that I started off with and just marry everything together. After that, we're going to work on the lid. So I'm going to take that primer that we used before we started shadow application, and I'm just going to apply that on the lid, like on the inner third to the half of the eye, and just kind of blend it out. And so what this is going to do is going to allow me to put the next color on. When I put the next color that's on, it's going to make it look really intense. So I was looking through the palette that I was using, and I saw a bright like neon highlighter yellow green type of color. So pretty. Just watch. It's gorgeous. And so I like to apply shades like this that are really matte and bright with my finger. I feel like it works best with the finger. And so I just take it and I put it on in a patting motion. So what that's gonna do is allow you to pack on the color. So just keep packing and packing. And then you're gonna slowly start to kind of buff out with your finger a little bit. And then after that, you can go in with a brush and just kind of buff out any harsh lines there. So buff with your finger. If you have never done it before, try it. It's amazing. And so see here, you can get a little bit more neater and a little bit more crisp by using that brush that we use to put down the primer on the eye. And then I'm just going to go in with the fluffy brush and kind of just get rid of any harsh lines just to diffuse the bright yellow that we put on there. And then after that, I just felt like my eye needed a little bit more of a pop. So I went back again and I packed it on after I blended it. And so after this one, I go back in with that crease color just to kind of bring out any color that might have gotten like faded out while we were blending, just to kind of enhance it a little bit more. And so anytime you have shadow that you've done and you feel like it kind of disappeared while blending, you can go in and pack a little bit more at the end. Just a little trick. And then I did the same thing on the other eye, and then I'm just going back and forth and making sure both eyes look the same. And see, doing the same thing on the other eye, bringing out that darker outer crease color and buffing, switching brushes to buff it all out. And then after that, I went in with a little bit of a liner, and just to kind of diffuse the lash line. I'm not doing like a big bold crazy wing. It looks like that, but I'm not. So I'm not even packing a lot of it on, just to kind of put down a little bit of that dark color there. And then I just string that all along my lash line. And so what I'm going to do afterwards is just kind of smoke it out with a little bit of the dark brown plum color and the two darker colors on the outer corner. And then I take that crease brush and just kind of build on that liner that I did there. So create like a smoky liner type of thing. And I just bring it out and drag it out. So the brush that I'm using is the one that's on the other side of that fluffy shader brush that I was using to blend out the colors before. And then see, I'm just switching back to the fluffier side. So the denser side will pack on the color, and then the other side will blend out the color. So one packs color, one blends. And so I go back in with a little bit more of the bright color just to enhance. I know it's a lot of steps, but it's so worth it. You don't have to keep packing it on. I'm just being extra. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then I'm just packing it on a blue color in the center of the lid, just because I felt like I needed a little bit more of a pop and I wanted to play around with more colors in the palette. And I did it, and I put it on with my finger, and then I go in and just kind of buff everything out after that. And then I take a makeup wipe and just kind of clean up the under eye. And then when I use that makeup wipe, it just kind of creates a nice, really nice clean lines on the outer edge of the eye. Of course, you don't have to make it that defined, but I just wanted it to look super nice and neat. And then after that, I'm gonna go in with the doing the face. But first I'm gonna tight line. So tight lining is putting eyeliner on the inner rim of your lash line. And so what that's going to do is darken the base of the lashes. And so I'm doing this because I'm not doing like crazy intense thick eyeliner, but I still want a dark base on my lash. And so after that, I'm going to go in with lashes, and I'm just showing you how to take them off. A lot of people don't know this, and I learned this when I worked for MAC. And you just apply the glue on the lash band, wait 15 to 20 seconds for it to get a little tacky, and then you proceed to apply your lashes. And then I like to use tweezers to help me put them on. It's a little bit easier for me that way. I can do it with my fingers, but the tweezers are really small, so it allows me to kind of get in there in the little tight areas. And then I just kind of manipulate it with my finger and place it where I want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and proceed with my foundation. And I'm using a blender sponge. And if you've ever used one of these sponges before, you'll know how nice it blends out any sort of foundation. And my suggestion to you would be to dampen your sponge a little bit and then wring it out and then apply your foundation. And it makes a huge difference. I don't know, the makeup just sits so nicely. And then I go in with concealer on the under eye. And the concealer that I'm using is the same concealer that I use to clean up the under eye of the eyebrow. So still with that same one, just to kind of keep things nice and cohesive throughout the makeup look. And so just patting it in with the same blender sponge that I use to apply my foundation. And after that, I'm just going to be setting it with translucent powder. And keep in mind, the sponge is still damp at this point. And then I'm not really baking. Baking is when you leave the translucent powder on your skin and just leave it there for, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes, however long. So I actually put it on and then buff it out immediately. And so I just, after that, I go in with an all over face powder. And then I just make sure that I go over the areas where I put my liquid foundation. And then get the jawline really well and just buff it all in. Nice circular motions, just making sure everything's all nice and covered. And then the brush that I'm using is an angled brush. It's really soft. I'm using it to kind of contour the hollows of my cheek. And the color that I'm using is a nice, like, warm bronzy brown, which is an amazing powder. And then I go through, and with the brush that I use to apply the over my foundation, I just kind of buff out any harsh lines with it. And then I'm going to proceed and do my blush on top of the bronzer contour shade. And I just smile and I place it on the apples of my cheeks there. And then I will go ahead and just buff everything out. Just make sure everything looks nice and blended. Nice circular motion. You don't want to have like do two big old pink circles on your face. So you want to make sure that this part is really nice and blended out. No harsh lines. Everything is going to be nice and smooth. And so to ensure that that is, I go over it with the powder foundation brush. And then I apply some highlight to the apples of my cheek. And I just kind of go over on top of where I put that blush, and I go over my temples, a little bit on my nose, some over my cupid's bow, just anywhere where the sunlight naturally hits. And then I go in with a black eyeliner, and this liner, I'm just putting it down so that my eyeshadow that I'm going to go over it with has something to stick to, and that way the color kind of stands out a little bit more too. And so I just go in with the brush that I used on my outer corner to diffuse that color and just kind of play with some teals and blues that are in that same palette, and just kind of buff out the lower lash line and bring it around the top. And you can achieve the same look just by doing the same types of shadow application as I did. And it doesn't have to be this color combo. It can be any color combo. So like the possibilities are endless. And so I'm just going in and just layering two different colors. And then after that, I'm going to go in with that brighter shade and just kind of buff everything out. So I'm just going to kind of marry everything together with the same color scheme that I used on my lid there. And just keeping the shape nice and cat eye like. So just kind of winging out the color there. And then I go in with the only shimmer shade in the palette. It's kind of like a smoky, or excuse me, silvery shimmer shade on that inner corner, just to kind of brighten it up there. And then take that fluffy brush and just buff all the harsh lines out, if any. And then after that, just kind of going through the top and just making sure everything is nice and blended. And then we're going to finish off the look by doing lips. So we're going to keep the look kind of semi-nude with a little bit of color. And then I go in and fill the lips with lipstick after the lip liner. And then I go in with another liquid lipstick just for the center of the lip. And this one I like to do something that I like is a lighter color, something that I normally wouldn't wear by itself. So lighter colors, if you have them, they're really good to kind of pop on over darker colors to lighten up a lip color. And I like to pat it in with my finger. And then after that, I just finish off the look with some facial mist, and that's just kind of to lock everything in place. Pat dry my skin, not pat dry, excuse me, fan my skin just to make sure everything's nice and dry. After that, I go in with mascara. So mascara, I save for the very end because I don't want to spray my face before doing this part, because if not, the mascara you'll kind of end up with dots under your eyes. And then, so mascara, and then, yeah, the look is complete. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I will place all the products that I use in the description box. And if you have any questions or any recommendations for any future videos that you want me to do, go ahead and leave your comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions on anything. I'd be happy to answer them for you. And thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.